then in your view, is there an ideal org structure for the data science team within an organization in order to ensure that they can be profitable or that they can be perceived favorably by the executives in the company?
Yeah, so this is a tough one because we were talking about a lack of consensus in XAI terminology. Talk about a lack of consensus. Who data scientists report to and what to make the organizational chart look like, zero consensus, right?
Mhm.
In my experience, probably about a third of the time, data scientists report up through IT. And we've been candid about a whole bunch of other issues, so I might as well be candid about this too. I don't think that's ideal, right? So that's probably the mode. It's not the majority, but it's the most common. And I think you really get that cost center, profit center confusion there. And then you get into this whole, oh, if we spend more on software, then we can spend less on people. And I don't think people say that explicitly, but that's why people get excited about these tools that citizen data scientists can use and so on. That all that conversation seems to happen over on the IT side about how. Oh, and then the other thing that ends up happening, I think, sometimes is a bit of an obsession. I'm being a little bit strong here, but a bit of an obsession with keeping the number of tools to a minimum. Everybody has to use the same tools, and that's to minimize tool maintenance and tool licenses. I get it, but all those conversations I hear more on the IT side than I do from data science teams when they don't report up through the data scientists. So I'm a fan of having somebody like a CAO, which historically, this is my understanding at least, that it's mostly in healthcare and quants on Wall Street where you get, a CAO. But I really think you need somebody with C-suite influence, even if they don't literally have a C in their title, right? And that's because only somebody with that amount of political capital is going to be able to ensure that when you're talking about value, you're talking about maximum value across the whole enterprise. I just think there has to be somebody with some influence there. And I don't think that a CAO is the same as a CDO. And, now we run the risk of kind of getting in the weeds here, right? But I don't think that data science and data governance are the same thing. I mean,
No. So
they're
certainly, I mean,
very different.
that's not even to me, that's super obvious. Yeah. A chief data officer is more concerned with data privacy and, yeah, good governance on data structures. Whereas, yes, a chief analytics officer, which could be more similar to a chief data scientist, those two roles, CAO and CDS, are more concerned with building new models and automating things and providing predictive analytics to the business.
Well, here's another distinction too. And the thing is, we agree that it's almost like a no-brainer that they're different. Yet, I think there are a lot of organizations that try to kind of combine it because maybe they can't justify having both roles or whatever. But the chief data officer and even the CIO, for that matter, clearly those are cost centers, right? It's a cost of doing business. We need a certain data infrastructure. We need to have data governance. We need to have privacy. But you're not ensuring data privacy to make money. It's because it's a cost of doing business, right? So I really want the CAO to be laser focused, solely focused on identifying which projects have value and making sure that those are the projects that their team is assigned to do. So another way of putting it is the number one job of the CAO is to maintain the analytics portfolio. So now we're getting into almost portfolio management, PMO type stuff, right? So what does that mean for an organizational structure? One of these days, I want to have a long conversation, preferably over some wine, with somebody that's a true world-class PMO expert. There actually are a couple that also teach for LinkedIn Learning that I've had short conversations with, but someday I want to have a lengthy conversation with them is how to really make that work. How should a CAO be collaborating with a project management office and so on, right? But again, the CAO should be all about making sure that their team has the resources that they need to complete the projects that have greatest value. That's it. But I don't think most organizations have anybody like that. So in a lot of organizations, the highest rank, if to put it that way, of the most important data scientist in the organization is maybe more like a senior manager or a director level.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah, I mean, it's there might be companies out there that want to find somebody that can be like a chief data scientist or a CAO, and it's hard to find people with that level of experience. Or when you do find them, they can be very pricey.
Yeah. But, that's absolutely true. But think about the number of folks, I'm sure you have them among your acquaintances on LinkedIn. Think about the number of folks that are in that league that are really incredibly talented, that if you look at their LinkedIn, they've been at, 8 organizations in 10 years, or maybe more than 10 organizations in 10 years, right? I don't think it's just cost. Organizations don't know how to keep them.
Mm.
And I think part of the problem is they think that somebody like that is their first hire. So now that person arrives and they've got no team. Well, how are they supposed to do anything? So they're going crazy, spending probably a fourth or a third of their day working with HR to try to hire a team. And hiring a good data scientist can take 3 to 6 months or more. So
Mm.
next thing you know, it's almost the end of the year, and they have that painful, "What have you done for me lately?" conversation with senior management. And they just
Mhm.
say, "Well, for almost a year, I've been trying to put an infrastructure into place." I'm pretty sure that's the story
Yeah.
at a lot of organizations.